Good evening, friends. The subject of my talk this evening is the goal of meditation. I have given a few talks on meditation, but I think it is proper now for me to discuss what is the goal of meditation. Sri Ramakrishna is one of the two latest divine incarnations, real divine incarnations. Sri Ramakrishna and Sri Sarada Devi, these are the two latest divine incarnations. Before them there was Sri Chaitanya, and before him Jesus Christ, and then if you go backward in time, then there will be Rama, Krishna and all that. Divine incarnation, God in human form. Anyway, so one person once came to Sri Ramakrishna and said, "Revered Sir, what is the goal of our life?" Then Sri Ramakrishna said, "The goal of our life, or the goal of human life, is to experience God, divinity. That is our goal. How to do it?" He said, by chanting the holy name of God and by having holy company. What is holy company? Well, the company of a divine incarnation. But the divine incarnations are not always available, so one should follow the advice of the divine incarnations. That is like having holy company. So, thinking of God and having holy company. And chanting of the holy name of God in Sanskrit is called japa. And it is this japa which becomes dhyanam, that is meditation. When the mind without stop continuously goes on thinking of God, the same divinity, then that is called meditation. Pratyaya ekatanata dhyanam. The statement is there. That means when the thought will flow only in one direction, then that will be called meditation or dhyanam. One cannot meditate immediately. It needs many years of practice, because we don't try to control our minds, the mind controls us. That is the case in most people. So to bring the mind under control, there are some techniques, and chanting the holy name is one of those techniques. What is meditation? The answer to this question is that meditation is a step to God realization. And one has to go through 3 steps to eventually experience divinity. First step is called pratyahara. That means withdrawing the mind which is scattered on so many things, withdrawing that mind and bringing that mind under control. And then that mind should be engaged in the thought of God. That is called dharana. And then when the mind can be engaged in the thought of God for a longer time, then that becomes dhyana or meditation. And if meditation, a person can go on doing meditation, then that becomes samadhi. Samadhi is the point when a person experiences divinity, becomes one with divinity. Pratyahara, dharana, dhyana and samadhi. There are two great religious epics of India. One is called the Ramayana, the other one is called the Mahabharata. In the Mahabharata, there is a story which will illustrate what is dharana, fixing the mind on God. So the Mahabharata speaks of 5 princes, royal princes: Yudhishthira, Bhima, Arjuna, Nakula and Sahadeva. These are 5 brothers. They are all sons of Pandu. That's why they are called Pandava. 5 Pandavas. And as they were princes, they were given all kinds of training, education, and the training included the art of warfare also, how to use the arrow and bow, how to use the sword, and how to use the spear. Those are the weapons of those days. So one had to learn all those things from teachers. And these 5 princes, their teacher of martial art was Drona. That was his name. Drona. So Drona had trained these 5 princes in using the bow and arrow. And he wanted to test them. So to test them, he did something. He got a bird made of wood, and that wooden bird he put on the high branch of a tree, but visible from those who stand in front of the tree. And then he asked his students, these 5 princes, to one by one aim at the eye of that bird which they have to hit with their arrow. So Yudhishthira went there first, and Drona asked him, "What are you seeing?" "Revered sir, I am seeing you and my brothers, and also I see this tree, and I see that bird, and I see the bird's eye also." Then Drona said, "No, you won't be able to hit." So that way, Drona asked Bhima. Bhima gave a similar reply, and Nakula and Sahadeva, they all gave similar replies, that they were seeing so many things and also the bird. Then when Arjuna came, Drona asked him, "What do you see?" He said, "I am seeing only the eye of the bird and nothing else." Then Drona said, "All right, shoot your arrow." And Arjuna shoot the arrow and it hit the eye of that bird. wooden bird. So Arjuna had that ability to have dharana, that means fixing the mind on the object on which he had to shoot the arrow, to which he had to shoot the arrow. This is called dharana. This is an example of dharana. I have heard that in the game of baseball which is played in America by many, those who are very good players, those they can hit the first approaching ball with their bat. And it is said that those who can hit the ball, some of them have said that when the ball starts coming to them and is thrown by somebody else, it is traveling it at many miles per hour. And then they say that they see that ball much larger, like the size of a soccer ball. So they have no difficulty in hitting that ball. That is a saying. That shows that they have dharana. They can fix their mind on the object which they have to hit with their bats. So Arjuna, among the 5 princes, Arjuna was the only one who had that ability to have dharana. So it is said that if a person can fix his mind or have dharana on an object for only 12 seconds, that is, his mind will not go anywhere else, then that is called dharana. And 12 times that period, if a person can fix one's mind without allowing the mind to go anywhere else, that is called dhyanam. That means 12 times 12 seconds will be 144 seconds. There will be 2 minutes and 24 seconds. If a person can fix his mind on the object of meditation for 2 minutes and 24 seconds, then that person has learned really to meditate. And then 12 measures of meditation will create that condition which is called samadhi. At that time, the person experiences divinity. And that means if he can fix, if the person can, if a meditator can fix his mind on the object of his meditation, undisturbed by any other thought, for 28 minutes and 48 seconds, then that person will have the experience of divinity. That's what is said. I have been in Seattle for many years, 46 or 47 years, and there used to be one lady who lived next door, and I came as an assistant to Swami Vividishananda, who was in charge of this center. And that lady was a disciple of Swami Vividishananda, it seems. And she came and she said to the Swami, "Swami, last night, the whole night I meditated." Well, whole night one will meditate so many hours? No. She tried to meditate. She should have said, "I tried to meditate the entire last night." Because had she been able to really meditate for 28 minutes and 48 seconds, then she would have the experience of divinity. So this condition where a person experiences divinity can be compared to an analogy of mind. That is, you know water and you know common salt or sodium chloride. You take that salt while eating that is sodium chloride. So sodium chloride can be dissolved in water very easily. So consider a large glass and a large bowl and containing water, and there some salt is gradually being poured or stirred, and the salt starts getting dissolved and becomes invisible. Then a time comes when that solution becomes super saturated. It don't dissolve any more salt. If you put salt, salt will remain at the bottom of the bowl. So now pour that solution of water. We call it supersaturated because the molecules of sodium chloride enter into there is some space between intermolecular space in water and enters there and remains there. That is called solution. And then that salt will become invisible. Now this supersaturated solution you pour into another bowl and then have 1 grain of salt and put it there. Then you will notice something strange. The salt which was in solution, in that supersaturated solution, some of that salt will start becoming visible in the form of crystals. Recrystallization. These crystals are very pure also. So, in supersaturated solution of salt, if you put just 1 grain of salt, then it will start that recrystallization process. So also when the mind is in that condition called samadhi, then it is like the mind is in supersaturated solution, and then just 1 thought of compassion, if it can come, then some of that mind will come out of solution with divinity. A portion of that mind, but the most of the mind will remain in divinity. Only a little portion will come out. This is what happens when a person tries to meditate. In meditation, when that condition comes called samadhi, and that the mind has become one with divinity. But a thought of compassion, if somehow it can be put in the mind, then the portion of that mind will come out. A person who has that samadhi is called a siddha. Siddha means one who is succeeded in having the experience of divinity. But so when the mind becomes dissolved, then that person's identity is gone. Identity is gone and only divinity remains. But there are some rare souls who can retain a little bit of their ego in the form of some thought of compassion, and then a portion of their mind comes out. And I can mention Swami Vivekananda. He had, before his name became Vivekananda, his name was Narendra. and he was a disciple of Sri Ramakrishna. He had been troubling Sri Ramakrishna, requesting him to give him that experience of samadhi, nirvikalpa samadhi. That means when the mind becomes completely one with divinity. But eventually one day he had that experience in the house where Sri Ramakrishna spent his last days. And then, but his mind eventually, it is not that even though it was dissolved, a portion of his mind came out from that samadhi state. Why? Because Vivekananda was no ordinary person. Sri Ramakrishna brought him from other plane of existence where 7 spiritually illumined sages were there. At the request of Sri Ramakrishna, one of those sages came and became born as Narendra. And Sri Ramakrishna could recognize Narendra, of course. And he chose Narendra. Why? Because here Sri Ramakrishna, being a divine incarnation, had to come to revive religion or spirituality which had declined in the world. That's why he brought Narendra. Mainly Narendra and a few others. Those are all Nitya Siddhas. They are born with that innate tendency to meditate on God. Anyway, so Narendra was brought by Sri Ramakrishna to help him preach spirituality, preach his teachings. And Narendra came even to the United States as Vivekananda. Later on he became Swami Vivekananda, and he came as the representative of Hinduism. And he taught the world what true spirituality was. And he talked about meditation also at that time. And Sri Ramakrishna had given up his body several years before that, but he would appear in his subtle body to this Vivekananda and give him instructions about what Vivekananda would have to speak about. We know these things to be true. Most people who have that nirvikalpa samadhi, that means final samadhi, they melt away in transcendental divinity. And so they can never be born again because their egos had melted away in divinity. Divinity is transcendental, beyond time, space and causation and all that. But we, with our finite minds, when we try to think of that transcendental divinity, we project some personality on that transcendental divinity. And that divinity then becomes, in Sanskrit, Saguna Brahman. That means Brahman the creator, God the creator, and so on. And God the creator is omnipresent, omniscient and omnipotent. that has a personality imposed by us, our minds. So divine incarnation is no other than Saguna Brahman. When there is decline in religion or spirituality, then Saguna Brahman incarnates on this earth to revive that religion. The Bhagavad-Gita, which contains the essence of all the scriptures of Hinduism, so to say. There we read this Sri Krishna, a divine incarnation, is telling his student Arjuna, whenever there is any decline in spirituality, then I incarnate in order to revive that spirituality. Yada yada hi dharmasya glanir bhavati bharata abhyutthanam adharmasya tatatmanam srijanmaham, in Sanskrit. So this is what happens. So those who are worshippers of Saguna Brahman or God the Creator, if they progress spiritually, they don't melt away in Saguna Brahman. They still retain their personality. But that personality is completely different from the personality of others. Some of them think that they are children of that divinity. Some of them think that they are friends of divinity, and so on and so forth. But so such people who have experienced Saguna Brahman, that means God endowed with a personality, that means Creator God, they don't melt away completely in Saguna Brahman. After their death, they go to a plane of existence where God is present all the time. And that is called Ishtaloka. And those who are disciples of or devotees of Ramakrishna, if they worship Ramakrishna Saguna Brahman, then they will go to Ramakrishna Loka, where they could see the presence of Ramakrishna there, divine presence. And there could be Christ Loka also, those who are devotees of Jesus Christ, they will also experience that, they will see the presence of Jesus Christ there. And we know many incidents, true incidents, where some devotees who were highly evolved after their death went to their Ishtaloka. There is a story of one lady called Kusum. She was highly developed spiritually. After her death, she went to the abode of her deity, whom she had worshipped. That was the abode of Ramakrishna. And she was very happy there. As we know, she was a disciple of another saintly disciple of Sri Ramakrishna. His name was Subodhananda. And this lady Kusum was at that time in the city called Ranchi. And Swami Subodhananda was her guru, and he had visited her once or twice. And the next door neighbor of this Kusum's family home were the Mukherjees. Kusum became critically ill, and her parents thought that she would not live. And then the Mukherjees, they are standing on the balcony of their upper story of their home. From there they could see Kusum going out of their home and along with Swami Subodhananda, following Subodhananda. Then they thought Swami Subodhananda must have come. But on inquiry they came to know that he had not come at all. So they had a vision. And after that, some months after that, when Swami Subodhananda visited Kusum's parents, then these Mukherjees also had great respect for Swami Subodhananda. They came and they told that story to Swami Subodhananda, that they had seen Kusum following Swami Subodhananda after her death. And so Swami Subodhananda did not know what had happened actually. But after a while, Swami Subodhananda went to the holy city of Benares and to spend some time in contemplation of God. At that time he used to live in a hut, and such huts are available to be used by holy people. So Swami Subodhananda got one such hut and he was there. And then he became very ill and he used to feed himself by begging food from people's homes. That is a traditional custom. Monks beg food and cooked food. And so Swami Subodhananda became so ill that he was bedridden. And there was a cask containing drinking water, but he was thirsty, but he could not go there even. At that time he had a very vivid dream, and in that dream he saw Kusum standing by his bedside. And Kusum said that she had come there because Sri Ramakrishna had asked her, said Sudananda was called Khoka, the baby by Sri Ramakrishna. Said, Khoka is ill and he is thinking of you. Go to him. That's why he said, I have come. And she spent a little while with, and at that time, Subodhananda Swami asked Kusum what had happened to her after her death. And Kusum said, when I died, you came to receive me. So I started following you. And after a while, after we had gone some distance, and you had a wrapper over your head, and he removed the wrapper and turned back toward me. Then I saw it was not you, but it was Sri Ramakrishna. Sri Ramakrishna had taken the form of Subodhananda and come to receive Kusum. So this is an interesting story. I want to conclude my talk by quoting something which the Holy Mother Sri Sarada Devi, the Divine Incarnation, said. He said that to some devotee, don't be scared. You know that Sri Ramakrishna is always behind you, and I am also your true mother, I am also with you. No matter what you do, you depend on us. And at the point of death, we both will come to take you to the abode of perpetual peace. That's what she said. So this is what happens to those who meditate on God.